Success is something very different to everybody. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Off the Mat. My name is Josh Dumoulin, and this is.
Nicole Stratichuk.
And just recently, you put up a story on your Instagram asking about what are the traits to success. What do people find? What did individuals find are the traits to be successful?
Yeah, the keys to success.
The keys to success.
Yeah, and I got a lot of really good answers. So just to share with you some of those answers that I got, this is what it takes to be successful is persistence. Right? So like that ability to keep going even when things get hard or, you fail initially, like that persistence to keep going. Another thing that people said was dedication and passion. So having dedication to that goal or whatever that definition of success is that you set for yourself is having dedication and passion to that. And then another person said belief. So believing that you can achieve it or belief in that goal or belief in that success. Other answers were like your inner circle. So who's in your support system or who do you spend your time with and are they there to support you? Another one was confidence, which we've talked lots about, is confidence. The ability to overcome obstacles, kind of the same as persistence. Embrace failure, again, kind of the same thing. And then another answer that I got a few times was having the right mindset. Yeah, those were like kind of the main answers that I got from people that responded to that post. And I thought those were all really great answers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and even a lot of those there I can relate to each one individually at certain points in time in my, martial arts teaching career, entrepreneurial career, all of those things. I can relate to each one individually, but I have to say, there's two that really string out to me is the inner circle and the mindset. And those could probably be tied in, together, but having that inner circle, like being surrounded and connected to the right people is massive. I can honestly say there's a lot of people over the years that I've either had to cut out or limit the amount of time I spend with, talk to, engage with, or just completely just be like, I'm done. Gotta axe you right out.
Yeah, there's that saying like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most
Absolutely.
time around. So it's like, well, who are the people that I'm spending my time with and are they driving me to be successful or
That's
not?
right.
And then so having the ability to edit that circle as needed. One thing that I think about is like, you want to be super successful, right? So you want to be spending time with these millionaires or successful businessmen or whatever. And then I thought, well, you can't just show up on their doorstep and be like, hey, I want to hang out because they have security after you, right? But there's different ways that you can kind of spend time with them, right? Either like attend events that they're holding or, like conferences or seminars, that type of thing. Or I think about even like on your social media, like who are you spending your time with
Yeah, who
on
you're following.
Yeah, like edit that. Like if there's negative people or people that are not in your circle or you don't want to be in your circle, like cut them out of your social media because you're just being exposed to that.
Absolutely.
So, like the people that I follow on social media or different avenues is the people that I aspire to be like, right? Those are the people that I want influencing me.
Right. Yeah, and that's just it because even the social media circle, like I mean that's your inner circle too. I mean that's what you're consumed with when you go onto your feed is those people there that you're following. So if you are following, just people are just filling it with just garbage. Just like absolute garbage and not positive influence, not something, that you can actually look at and be like, that's what I want to be like. I mean, really, you're just gonna go down that tunnel of, and you, like you said, you might not be able to hang out with some of these people that you aspire to be like, but follow them on social media. limit who it is that you're letting into that feed, and then put those people in there. I can think of this for myself. I started following. Here's the crazy thing. When I first got Instagram, I didn't really know how it worked. Like, honestly, when you followed me, I just followed back, and you just follow, and I was like, kind of like it's Facebook, and you just add friends and whatever. Before you know it, you're starting to follow like hundreds and hundreds of people. So I don't know how many people I was following at one point, 900 people.
Oh.
And then it was just like, why am I following a lot of these people? Right? Like, I actually heard it from Bedros Keuilian and Craig Ballantyne on their podcast that they used to do, and they talked about the limited people that they follow. And I was like, geez, I need to start doing that.
Yeah.
And when I started cutting out, I was like, man, there's a lot of people I don't need to follow here.
Yeah.
And sure, it's like you might feel bad at first, but then some of it I'm like, well, I don't even know this person personally, so why am I feeling bad about it? So I would cut it out. But I can say this for myself too, is would I have been able to, or do I have the ability to just hang out with a guy like Bedros or Steve Eckert or Ray Kashkar? Absolutely not. But what I did was I started like visualizing myself, like I want to be in that room with them. So what did I do? I started following them on social media. I did the project. Now I got into the same room with them. Actually, what happened first was I went to a Bedros event. So like you said, I went to an event where he was speaking at. Not a chance I got a picture with them during a lunch break, and that was it. But what did I do? I was like, well, I can't afford to, be coached or see him. I'll go to an event. So now I got to an event. Now I'm in the same room with them. That was cool.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do the project. Now I'm like in the same room with them for like 3 days. Now it's like, now I get to go to an event where there's like a small number of us. Like I get to go in April. I was in April with them, and in October there's another event, and it's going to be this small group of people. So like you can eventually get there. You just got to kind of, again, like going back to the other one that I kind of attached myself to, is that mindset. Like my mindset shifted a lot, over time.
That mindset shift happens too because you start hanging around
Influential people, positive.
That's right. So you're like editing your inner circle, and your mindset begins to change because now you're starting to think like successful people.
That's right.
Right? And you start doing and acting like successful people, and that just shifts your whole mindset.
The question no longer is like, I can't do that. It's more like, how do I do that? Like, how do I
get it done?
How do I get into that room with them? How do I meet these people? How do I engage with them?
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, we, like, you and I are part of different mastermind groups, with martial arts and things. So we're really selective about that inner circle and who gets to be, spend our time with. Just as another example, we were just in Phoenix, and we know a couple awesome people in Phoenix. And so we made an effort to make sure that we could see them, right? That was our vacation, but those are like important people and successful people and just awesome people that we want to, have some traits that we desire to have as well. And
so we took 4 hours out of the trip to go and see these people, just to be in the same room, talk to them, and engage and, catch up and, meet them at different levels than what we're usually used to.
Yeah, like we got to meet these people just to talk, right, rather than them speaking on a stage. But that also came from supporting their events in the past, right?
Absolutely.
So like there's this two-way thing, right?
Yes.
Like
we didn't just show up.
Right. We didn't show up and be like, hey, I want to hang out with you because you're super awesome. No, we've supported their events and their companies and things like that. So it gave us that I guess, to actually just sit down with them for a little bit and just chit chat. So
that's right.
Yeah. But anyway, that inner circle, so important.
And that's just it. So like kind of going back to like the whole premise of this episode is the keys to success. And success can be many different things to many different people. Like, let's just get something straight. I think a lot of people confuse success, and they see somebody else's success, and that's what they're like, well, that's what I have to get. Like, that's what I need. And I've actually made that mistake in the past
Yeah.
where I look at other people and I go like, that's what I need. And it's the keeping up with the Joneses, if you will, right? It
Right.
wasn't necessarily maybe a bigger house or this or that, but there was certain things I'd be like, well, that's what I need to have because that's what they have. Well, but that didn't make me happy. So
Right.
success is something very different to everybody. And you heard this quote here, and this quote was,
Yeah. So, and but just talking about more about success is, yeah, it is so individual, and that piece about success gives us purpose and fulfillment. So,
right,
whatever is gonna give you purpose or fulfillment, that is success, right?
mhm,
Like it doesn't. It could be anything. It just
that's
doesn't
right,
have to be what the next
yep,
your neighbor has, right? Or something like that. So anyway, I was listening to another podcast, and I honestly can't even remember which podcast I was listening to. I can't, and I don't remember who this quote came from, but they said success equals sacrifice plus suffering. And that just really resonated with me because I started thinking about the different successes that I've had or we've had, or just the different successful experiences that I've had over my lifetime. And yeah, it really rang with me that there's always some suffering and there's always some sacrifice. And even those answers that I got from that Instagram story, I felt like they all somehow kind of go into those two categories of sacrifice and suffering,
mm-hmm,
right? So, and sacrifice is all about like giving something up
right,
for something else, right? For
yep,
something greater. So that could be like your time, obviously, right? Your time to do the things that are you're doing to achieve that success. So let's say like earning your black belt, right? There's a lot of time sacrifice that goes in because you've got to train,
mm-hmm,
right? You've got to make it to class, all of that, all of those kind of things. Sacrifice could be your money or resources, right? Like money to go train or travel to training or
yeah.
travel to different things.
School fees, tournament fees,
Right,
it could be, private lessons. Like
right.
if you actually want to be like, again, so that goes back to that sacrifice. It could be financial. It could be more. I think the biggest resource is that time one though. People
Yeah,
like you can always figure out how to make the money to
yeah,
get something, but it's the time part. Like so you understanding the sacrifice of time when like I said, like you're bringing up with the earning your black belt, sacrificing time. And
mm-hmm.
this comes down to, your time to train. You know, maybe not coming in once a week, maybe not coming in twice a week, maybe coming in 3-4 times a
Yeah, yeah.
week and putting in extra time at home and private lessons and all of these extra things, but there is a sacrifice of that
Mm-hmm.
time. Parents, trust me, we're appreciative of it all, but there's a sacrifice of your time too
Mm-hmm.
to see your child succeed
That's
in
right.
that. Like, oh, I want my child to be a black belt, and I see the value in it. I see what they could be. I see the other kids in the school, and I see that's what I want my kid to be like. There is sacrifice on your part too. The sacrifice of coming in, maybe not taking the entire summer off as a whole break. Yeah, take a vacation and do all of that stuff. We were gone, like we just said. But, well, hell, even when we were gone, we went and trained. We
Yeah,
were at the gym ourselves, and then we went and trained at another school, which is totally doable for you too. If you're ever on vacation, you're training with us, let us know where you're going. We're going to help you out, set you up with a school to go train at while you're gone. So if you're interested, if you are being successful, you'll want to know. But there's sacrifice, and like I said, we are very appreciative of the parents who do that. But there is a sacrifice that you do make as a parent too. Like
mm-hmm.
you've got to be willing to do that. If you're like, hey, I want that for my kid, there's those things too that you got to do.
That's right.
So,
And even more about sacrifice, even when these things that I got from the answers on my Instagram about belief and your inner circle. So that means sacrificing time with other people that shouldn't be in your inner circle. You know
right,
what I mean? Like you're not going to parties and social events.
yeah,
Well, maybe occasionally, but editing those
right,
things so that you're sacrificing that extra, that playtime, and so you can focus on what needs to be done,
mm-hmm,
right? So that's part of the sacrifice, but also the mindset. Sacrificing the limiting beliefs that you have in yourself, right? That's part of the sacrifice too, is like figuring out how to let go of those limiting beliefs and taking on this new mindset, right? That is the sacrifice, or the mindset sacrifice is getting rid of the stuff that's not serving you, right? So that's part of sacrifice as well.
That's right. And then, so when you talk about suffering, like there's a whole lot of suffering involved in, you know, in this case here, testing for your black belt, achieving your black belt, earning a black belt. Like there's a whole lot of suffering. Like there's sparring matches after sparring matches that you're doing, putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations.
Lots of physical suffering, right?
The push-ups, the sit-ups, the crunches, the running, the sparring, the learning, the like all of those things, they are a form of suffering that build that character that we're trying to build with martial arts and you know,
Right.
earning your black belt.
And as you go through that suffering, you are going to experience setbacks. You are going to experience little failures or big failures, which are just temporary defeats in this pursuit of success, right? So there is a whole lot of suffering that's going to come just in like talking about getting your black belt. There's lots of suffering. But if you look at whatever your definition of success is, or whatever goal is your success, there is a certain amount of suffering that's going to happen in order to be successful.
Well, yeah, and that's just it. Like that. Yeah. Go ahead.
It could be physical, like you said, like, or, you know, training for a black belt. It could be physical, but it also could be mental, right? And even we talked about that in the black belt test that we recently had a couple months ago, right? They had such a mental strain that they had to overcome, that mental sacrifice that they had to do. So,
but even the suffering of like, you know, experiencing the defeat, right? Like you talked about that, right? Like, so this could be going to a tournament and losing.
yes.
Which is good for you. Like, stop crying about it, mom and dad. Failing a belt test. That's a big one. That is something that, like, so many people, like, and even right now, we're experiencing this a little bit. I'm noticing a few people here, and I'm not trying to, like, pick on anybody or call anybody out. What I'm saying is, we're getting a lot of people who, like, we have summer belt grad coming up. Okay, a lot of people aren't putting the same time they were in throughout the year. And they still
right, 'cause-
expect to pass.
That's right.
They're not going to.
It-
They're not going to. And then we have mom and dad going, well,
Oh.
hold on. You didn't sacrifice the time. You gave up the time. So you decided to do something else. And then you're still expecting the same thing. Well, the suffering is going to be possibly not passing.
Right. Yeah, it's been summer, so
Right.
yeah, we see, you know, not the same dedication, not the same level of sacrifice.
Which is fine.
Yes,
like, this is
totally
the thing that
fine.
I'm trying to get across. It is fine. You just have to be okay
With
with
the-
certain results that come about from it. You have to be. Sorry, you have to be. And there's no, well, I don't know if you prepared them. No. I actually talked about this with my black belt test. If I wasn't prepared for it, whose fault was it? It was mine. Oh, well, you didn't know what your requirements were. Doesn't matter. I wasn't prepared.
Take
I
responsibility.
mean, I was, but had I not been, it wouldn't have been somebody else's fault. It would have
That's
been
right.
totally mine. Oh, you were only 15. Yeah, it would have been my fault. Like, mine.
That's right. And so anyway, this formula of success equals sacrifice plus suffering. I feel like that's alliteration: suffering, sacrifice, and success. A lot of S sounds there, but this equation, I feel like it's so cool that we get to put kids and adults through that equation in the controlled environment of martial arts, right? Because if I think about this as me as a parent, I want my kids to be successful. And the only way that they are going to be successful is to practice this formula of success, right? So they have to continually learn how to be successful, which means they have to continually learn how to sacrifice and suffer in order to achieve the success.
Right.
And with martial arts, in our school, like the kids and adults, our students are constantly being put through that. And the more reps that they get
right.
on practicing this is just going to make them more successful, not only in Taekwondo, but they've exercised this equation over and over again
That's
in
right.
martial arts. And so that's going to help them better in school, better in their whatever career path they decide to take, right? Because they understand that in order to achieve anything, there is this sacrifice and suffering that has to occur.
That's right.
And they learn how to deal with it, right? Like everything that comes with suffering, like experiencing a setback, they learn how to get over that
That's
and
right.
get through that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what is, like you said, it's important to do. That's why I like believe anybody should do martial arts. Like, and listen, obviously I'm prone to, you know, our discipline and our style and stuff like that, but really you should put yourself through martial arts, your kids through martial arts. If you're listening to this and you're in some other city or something like that and you don't currently train, I mean, get yourself involved in a martial art, like do something, because that constant rep of putting yourself through the suffering every single class just builds that
Right.
adversity,
And that,
right?
so, sorry, when one of the answers that I got was confidence, right? And as you go through the reps
Yep.
of success, your confidence increases and increases. So if you set a goal, that's going to be your marker of success, and maybe start small so that you can experience small suffering, small sacrifice, and small success, right? You start there and then make it bigger, make it better, and keep increasing that. That's going to increase your confidence over time to achieve bigger and better things.
Yep.
Like there's no limit.
But even going like bigger with it, like if you're just gonna sit there and go like, okay, what is the definition of success? Like, what is it for me? Is it testing for a black belt? Is it starting a business? What does that business look like? Is it earning a certain amount of money? Like, what is it? What does that ideal success for you look like? Then from there, what am I willing to suffer? And what am I willing to sacrifice? And if you can sit there and go through that, and if you made a list of what it is you are willing to sacrifice, well, okay, what does that mean? To do this, I'm going to have to sacrifice my time on the weekends. I won't be able to go to, depending on your age, won't be able to go to the bar. I won't be able to do this. I'm going to have to maybe edit some relationships, edit some friends, stop hanging out with these people, sacrificing these things. And you make that list, and you make the list of what am I willing to suffer through? Am I starting a business? Might mean I need to eat ramen noodles for a little bit. Not that I would encourage eating ramen noodles, but I've been there and I've done that, and it sucks, but I've done it. But what am I willing to suffer through? Am I willing to put myself through the constant push-ups and the planks and the sit-ups and the sparring matches? Okay? And if you look at those two, and if any of those you're like, I'm not willing to do that,
Right.
then maybe that isn't the right.
Right. And I have an example of for myself right now. You know, one thing that I love competing in Taekwondo. I would love to do that. But when I look at this formula and I look at what I'm okay with the suffering part, you know,
Yep.
all the enduring of that. The sacrifice though was the part that I got hung up on. And that's why, you know, right now is not the right time for me
Right.
to compete because
Yep.
I'm not willing to sacrifice any more of my time to do it, right? Because my time is full right now with the things that I want it to be full with, and I'm not willing to sacrifice the time to compete.
And you
that's-
just need to be okay with that. That's the
Yeah.
big difference. I think a lot of people begin to not be okay with that, and they still think they should get that thing.
Right.
Well, you're not willing to do this. So if you're not willing to have something in one of those columns, and you're not willing to, you know, sacrifice your time, well then that's maybe not the thing for you right now.
yeah.
And I've done it too. That's how I came to the realization in 2019 when I was done competing. That's how I came to it, basically. Not using this formula because I'd never heard this
Yeah.
formula, but I knew innately, like I knew, like deep down, I knew there was a reason why I was not going to compete anymore. And when it came down to it, it was what I was not willing to give up anymore. I was not going to give up any more time with my kids.
Yeah.
I was not going to put myself in a situation where I could maybe, at that caliber of sparring with men, not get hurt and not be able to provide, not be able to
Right.
play with my kids, not be able to do certain things had I been in a situation where I maybe get hurt at that caliber. Because, like, make no mistake, when you're going in that caliber, the risk is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So I wasn't willing to give up those things. That's why I knew. And that's why the decision to stop, that was why it was actually really easy for me. Because I was like, you know what? No, I'm not willing to do this. Done. So, like, I was maybe, I don't know if you want to say it, I had done my years of competition. Maybe I was mature enough to say, I'm done here. And I use this basic formula. Again, this is not the first time I've heard you talk about this, but I use this formula in my own stuff. I'm not willing to do that to get this, so I'm not going to do this. That is a big no, right? And I learned a little bit of that from Steve Eckert. Like, if it does not fit a core value of yours or a belief, then it is a no, is hard no. Don't even, like, put it right away.
Yeah, that's right. So if this goal or this thing of success that you're trying to achieve, if part of the sacrifice is sacrificing your values, then it's no.
That's right.
Like, absolutely no. And that's where I'm coming from with my example of competition. I'm not willing to sacrifice my time with kids right at this moment, because it's just not in my cards. It's going against what I believe and my core values right now. So yeah, it's a no. Anyway, I just really loved this, how this was laid out, the success equals sacrifice plus suffering, because it really made me think it does take a lot of hard work and dedication, and there's things that you have to endure, and there's things that you have to give up in order to achieve whatever goal, whatever version of success you're trying to strive for, and just made it really apparent to me, and made it really easy now to kind of look at the different goals that I've made for myself and kind of fit them into this formula and make sure that it's aligned with where I want to go and what I want to do.
That's right. Yeah. There you go. Well, I really, anyway, I like this a lot. This is simple. It's easy to follow. You don't need, honestly, you need a sheet of paper and just making some notes and everything. And when you do this, you're going to be able to hopefully create your own formula for success. And that's really what the goal of this episode was that you were going to be able to figure out and be able to plan your formula for your success and what you want to achieve. And if we can remember what podcast that came from, we'll be able to make sure we put that in the show notes as well, so that way we can add that in there and give them some credit as well. Or if maybe you know where it came from. But I don't know. Let's hear from you guys. If you guys have anything that you guys think, what is the definition of success to you? What is successful to you? Is it spending more family time? Is it making more money? Is it starting your business? What is success to you? We'd love to hear about that. And then what are those traits? What examples maybe have you had in the past where you have gone through some suffering, some adversity, and you've sacrificed certain things to achieve that goal? We'd love to hear those things. If you're watching this on YouTube, just write it in the comments down below. And if you haven't done so yet, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you're listening to us on any of the audio platforms, just leave us a 5-star review. We would love to hear from you guys. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with somebody that you think might need to hear this, because there was a ton of value from it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Off the Mat. My name is Josh Dumoulin, and this is
Nicole Stratichuk.
Thank you so much.